Frenzy Podcast.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Nick from the Nerd Frenzy podcast, and we have The Matrix today. And we got the wonderful, my beautiful Navy companion, my lover in real life, Brent Parker.
True story. We are lovers, and his wife hates me, and my wife hates him. But we won't stop. We refuse to quit.
Was there a part of you in there that's saying, hey, just let everyone know I'm with my wife?
No, I would assume you would have noticed she left. Nope, still here. I thought she
Oh,
left the
okay.
room immediately.
Okay, seriously. You see this big old, just jump across the room and then just, middle finger thrown at you. And I'm like, hey, is Crystal mad at you?
It's her shaking her head in disappointment. She's like, I could have made such better choices, and this is where I am with this is who I'm with. But you know what? That's all right, because I don't know if it's actually all right or not. But it's what we're doing. It's where we are. So
I like it.
Take that.
I like it. Well, first of all, have you noticed that I am now part of the Matrix?
Yeah, I see the ones and zeros actually running down your screen, and they are beautiful, fascinating, and haunting. Okay, we're talking about the Matrix, and I'm just going to come right out and say it. What? Why? Why for? What the hell? Why? I'll say it. I don't care. I'll say it. I'm just going to say it. Nick, I love that you're part of the Matrix, and since you're in the code, you can tell me why.
Why would me, being part of the Matrix, being naive, know how to tell you?
You're definitely like a Neo-type person, at least in my mind and heart. You are basically the chosen one.
In the picture, I'm the chosen one because, if I'm being honest, right. I'm a little egotistical, and I'm thinking, am I going to make Brent Neo or Brent Morpheus? I'm thinking, oh, screw Brent. I'm going to be Neo.
I am super upset because I would have loved to be Mr. Smith. I would have killed.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a good idea.
To be... Or yeah, was it Mr. Smith? Is that what his name is?
Yeah. No, Agent Smith. Agent Smith.
Right? Agent Smith. That's Agent Smith. Mm-hmm. I know the Matrix. I've seen the movies. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've clearly forgotten all about them. Mr. Anderson.
Oh, he was just so like Mr. Anderson.
He carries his name so cool. Mr. Anderson.
Hugo Weaving with his big old bug eyes in real life. Oh,
beautiful voice. Dude, he's got a very silky, smooth, seduce me, and also maybe murder me type voice that I'm super into. I don't get with him.
Well, V for Vendetta, when you watch him in that, everything he does, when he's just doing his beautiful rhymes, and he's he's sitting there just throwing his little sighs around while doing his beautiful poetry. Oh, he's great, and
he is fantastic.
A lot of people don't realize he's excellent, even in stupid movies. Well, not stupid, but Captain America: First Avenger, he was fine. It's just the character, I think, was
didn't do a lot with Red Skull,
not drawn well or something. Yeah,
they didn't do a lot with him. He's like, I'm Red Skull, I'm the bad guy. That's it. That's Red Skull. That's his entire statement in the whole damn film. Is like, Hugo Weaving's just not a good dude. That's it. There was no character development or depth. He was designed for us to say, that's the bad guy. Found him. We did it. We're smart.
Yeah. So, but luckily, his character is so much more fascinating as Agent Smith. And the crazy thing about, especially the first Matrix, and I'm just going to go and throw this out, my friend. I am not necessarily a big fan. I don't dislike, but I'm not a big fan of the second and third one.
I'm with you. I'm on the same page. I don't really like 2 and 3. And by which I mean don't like, I just think they got convoluted for no reason. I think they got extra weird.
Sure.
It was cool the way they explained the world of like vampires and werewolves and other creatures exist because they were part of the Matrix or whatever. I don't know how they
in previous versions of the
yeah, and I'm like, okay, that's cool and all, but they're still around, and it's just you could have not had that, and we'd all been just fine. You could have totally had people who didn't phase in and out of things and be fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, we could have had a bunch of cool stuff just as well. And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, like, it's a little up its own ass by the third one.
It got a little pretentious.
It goes through like this huge thing of like, it attempts, I feel, it attempts to be so like, what's the term I want here? So far out there and so like metaphysical and kind of wild, and like, you got to really grasp these abstract concepts of what the Matrix is and what it could mean, that it generates a whole lot of conversation about the spirituality of the Matrix and what it could mean. Are we in the Matrix? That that whole thing that went on for a hot minute. And it's not bad, but it's just like, I just want to hear the story of Neo and what's going on. Is that wrong? And I thought it was fine. I thought they capped it very well. I thought,
Mm-hmm.
they did a great 3-part series, and it was fun to watch. And all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden they're like, hey, by the way, I didn't know there's a Matrix 4 until we had HBO Max. And also like, by the way, Matrix 4. And I was like, what? Are we restart? Like, what the hell's gonna happen? What story are you telling?
And that's another thing I want to talk to you about. How are they? Because they've already asked Keanu Reeves, "Is this a prequel?" He goes, "No, it's not. It is the fourth one." And then we see that image of Keanu Reeves right on the back with Carrie-Anne Moss, and he has his beard, he has his long hair, and then we see another image come out months later where his hair like looks like it did in Speed 1.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, well, does he go through some kind of rebirth again? It maybe some kind of phoenix kind of thing or is it just going to be, I don't know. One of the sisters, Wachowski sisters, is going to be doing it. I'm not sure what the other one's doing a TV show. And they've done Cloud Atlas, and then they did that TV show. What was it called? It's when they're all connected.
Oh, they're all connected. 8? No.
Yeah, yeah.
Super 8? No, that's a movie. That's a whole movie. Sense8,
Sense8,
right?
yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Sense8, and it's kind of going with this. I'm a little nervous that there's going to be weird ideas that's going to even confuse us with the first three, because the first one itself it was a perfect. I mean, it was a 10 out of a 10. I would say top 5 movies of all time. And then the second and third one, I would say they were like 7s, which isn't bad. It isn't bad.
No, I mean it's watchable for sure.
Definitely
right?
watchable. I would never talk crap about them.
Mhm.
Just comparing, it's weird because the first one has a perfect thing, and it is one of those things too. But I was watching a Joe Rogan episode about a year ago, and there was this scientist on there saying that there is more probability that you and I are in a simulation right now. And I'm thinking, what if Matrix is like one of those movies that's like almost like alarming us, like, hey, hey, hey. And that that makes it maybe even more relevant yet. And not just the of course the bolt time, the new designs that completely kind of George Lucas times 2 for the new era. It was a perfect movie. And then when they made the second one, I was skeptical because the first one had a perfect ending. But yeah, I want more Matrix, and then it had more umph and stuff. But I think it just got confusing, like you said, and just all over the place.
First, to just comment on the idea that we're in a simulation is amazing. I mean, first off, to a certain degree, I think a lot of religious stuff you can kind of like fuddle around and put that in there. I think you can hang out in that idea of a simulation, religiously for a bunch of stuff. So that's always really really cool to me. But secondly, it's a fascinating thing. If you haven't checked out the theory or the possibility and the evidence, so to speak, that we're in a simulation, you gotta check it out because it's wild and it's kind of neat and it makes sense and it's kind of cool. That's the first thing I want to talk about. Secondarily, I felt the first Matrix did something so new, like you said, very George Lucas to Star Wars-esque fresh, where it was just this cool, fascinating new concept. I remember when it was coming out, my brother I was like, what the hell is the Matrix? And Aaron's trying to explain to me all these things that it could be because he had no idea and because no one really knew what it was going to be about. And then when I finally got to sit down and watch the film and everything, it was one of those for me, probably the first moment in theaters where, I went consistently back for a trilogy and the audience got larger and larger, and I probably had my first real crazy audience experiences of like everybody gasping, at the same time when he dodges the bullets and we're all like, oh shit, what the hell? Like, that was crazy. We'd seen it 100 times in the trailer, but then to actually watch why it happened and what it was about and how it all worked out was amazing. When you come to 2 and 3 after the first one I think really sets, again, I think the first one sets up a very cool universe. I think it sets up a lot of really, really cool ideas about the future is hell and we're all basically just walking batteries or basically bred batteries. And so we're kept in this docile, like, environment to stimulate our minds and keep us growing and alive while we produce electricity for robot overlords. That's really cool to me. That's just, conceptually, that's a cool future as far as like, you've never heard of anything like that before. Secondarily, I think it's really cool because then we had a whole lot of questions at the end of it. Like, what is like their main society? Like, how do people hide and live and fight? We get to learn that in number 2 and how it all behaves in number 3. But the only problem is, and like I said this earlier, it got so lost in itself. It got so metaphorical for everything. Everybody they talked to, the keymaster and whatever the code guy was at the very end in the suit and all the TVs with all of Keanu Reeves' emotions playing and all this other stuff. there's a whole bunch to dive into there if you really want, but I don't think it necessarily made it better. I think your statement with the Wachowskis is that they created something really, really fascinating with the Matrix. They made a great trilogy. And I think it's good that they're exploring other avenues right now, and especially trying other things with their TV shows. And while they haven't hit the mark at the same level, I think it's really hard to obviously recreate that
Oh,
level of like
well,
uniqueness and greatness.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think, it's understandable they're missing that. I just don't know how I really feel about another Matrix film. I
Sure.
don't, my brain says I'll watch it for the sake of having fun watching that movie, most assuredly. But I don't know if I'm ready to sit down and listen to them talk for, 20 minutes about the meaning of why Keanu's doing whatever he's doing now, why Neo's somehow reborn again for whatever freaking reason. It kind of makes me mad because
A little
I don't
bit,
know
yeah.
about you.
Me too. Me
I
too.
like a good story that has an ending, despite how like maybe the hero doesn't live, maybe he has to sacrifice himself, a la Neo, to make things better. Maybe there is a price to be paid for the great quest, and I think that's okay, and I think that's great, or not great necessarily, but at least it's a good capper. It puts an end to a story. I don't have to sit there and go, did he go raise a family of 20 kids to help repopulate,
Hmm.
people? He struck peace with the machines, and that's the Accords, and I'm good with
Hmm.
that. I don't have
Hmm.
to worry about,
Yeah.
did the robots reattack or anything. It's a good
It was a good
capper.
conclusion. Good conclusion. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was happy with everything. Like I said, it was not as good as the first one, but if I ever want to talk about failed trilogies, I would never bring up Matrix because they
Oh,
definitely
same.
and like I said, even Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions had something amazing to offer. That it didn't age well necessarily, but the whole idea when
Mm.
he was fighting all the Agent Smiths was so unique and interesting, and the fact that they tried it. Because they said, hey
Hmm.
guys, we did the bullet time, we did all that stuff. We need to step it up again because they're probably under that kind of pressure and they had obviously more money to back it up this time. So they tried some things and it probably pushed the envelope even more. That allowed, like they do the same thing. James Cameron is also known for the same kind of idea where they bring it up the next kind of form of technology in order to meet the needs of what they're trying to accomplish. And that ends up allowing us as people to, use that technology too. Uh,
Yeah, I,
so it's cool.
I agree. I think after the bullet time doing like the Neo versus 1,000 Mr. Smiths and like there are some fantastic scenes. And in fact, speaking of, as we're talking about it, I'm gonna go rewatch those now. Um, just because they're enjoyable. I mean, just that being said, because I think right now my level of not understanding why there's going to be a Matrix 4 is making me nitpick Matrix. And I'm not attempting to nitpick it. I'm just realizing that's beginning to happen because I'm like, why? It's so good. Matrix was so good. The watching that in theaters where he like basically spun around a pole, kicking the shit out of 100 Agent Smiths, flipped and flipped around and beat the shit out of them, did all this cool stuff. And then like by Matrix 3, they're like Super Saiyan fighting, flying through the air, anime style. It was just so crazy for the first time to see that in film. Like in film, in popular film, on top of it, in a film that, everybody was watching, everybody was talking about The Matrix, the next one. As soon as it came out, that's what people were talking about as far as cinema. And that's such a cool point. And I'm just looking at Matrix 4 and I'm like, again, what? I can't even contemplate what story they're trying to tell because I don't, not to say there's not more stories in the Matrix, but there's not, right? There shouldn't be because they've ended it. There's peace to be had. And I guess technically there's people still being bred as batteries because they didn't really stop that whole thing, right? They just made it so machines no longer go burrow into like whatever their underground society was to stab, murder them. And there's about 40 freaking people left after watching it. Yeah, what are you trying to tell me? Like,
Like I said, they're not sharing anything, and I'm a little nervous
nah.
because you're absolutely right. It had a start, a middle, and an end, and we're good to go. If you want to do something that's maybe
Mm-hmm.
in the same kind of universe, that's fine. But don't say, "Hey, Neo and Trinity are fine," because that only means, Brent, in my opinion, that they have to be somehow reborn, and that or there was a glitch in there, and I like a lot of sequels. I despise like the Alien, like Alien one was amazing. The sequel was great because it added the same suspension, but it added like suspense with it too, and then more aliens. But it was still a quality movie. And then they started kind of teetering down because they just wanted to make money, and then the story got stupid, and then you're kind of like, well, do I even like aliens anymore? Of course I do.
Yeah. No, but you're right though, because like I mean, you think of like Aliens 3. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
She was what, on like a slave planet? I can't even.
She was on
remember.
a no, she was on
some
a
shit?
prison planet, like a prison
Prison
ship.
planet.
Yeah.
That's yeah, and it was like why? Like I. Anyway, I'm sorry. That'll take me on a whole nother tangent. The point is, yeah, you know, and I don't mean to repeat myself so much, but I'm really actually like grasping here, hoping somebody can help me out because I get they're being tight-lipped. It does make sense, right?
Sure.
Because it has all of us going, why? At the very least, we'll watch it to find out why. At the very least, they have my money, so to speak, via HBO Max or via the theaters because I want to know why, bare minimum. So
Yeah, curiosity
They got
is
me.
90% of why I'm going to watch it.
same, but that's also what has me concerned. Is that's the only thing bringing me back?
Absolutely. Good point.
It's not, and I think that's a fair concern because I think. For the sake of argument, okay, for the sake of argument, we can kind of compare this to Mortal Kombat a little bit. That's coming out here shortly. I'm fascinated to see Mortal Kombat, despite that I think I know the story. And the reason I'm excited is because I'm going to watch one of my favorite things kind of be rebirthed and brought into a new light and a new generation. So I'm willing to go see that, despite that I have an idea. There's going to be some fighting, some deaths, some tournaments, and Shang Tsung's going to lose. That's what I'm banking on. And that's pretty much going to be the story, no matter how you chop it. I'm okay with that. That's great.
It needs to be that anyways, just because we need to have a beginning, sadly, because when they do a reboot, they start in the middle just kind of saying, hey, Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat Annihilation happened, so we'll just kind of go after that. I'm like, no, don't do
No,
that.
yeah, cut that. Those are dead to us. We never saw those. They're dead to us.
The first, I mean, as you and I mentioned, the first
one.
the first one's fun and it's unique, and it's like, hey,
It's cute.
when I was a kid, and if I watch it now, I might cringe a little bit, but I'm still gonna have love for it. But I remember watching the second one for the first time and going, ew.
Everybody did that. Everybody went, what's happening? You're killing what I love. Stop.
And that might happen with Matrix, and I know it sucks because you just want to say, hey, the first three were excellent, and if they make the fourth one and it's stupid, then the first three were excellent. That's not how it works, sadly, with us as people, as we get connected with our emotions and everything. And then if we have a weird fourth one, like I remember whenever, and I might have watched it with you, I think I did, but Die Hard 5. And
Oh,
I remember
God, yeah.
thinking, like, what a stupid movie. And it made me almost kind of like not want to watch any of the other ones.
Yeah, that has literally tainted Die Hard. Die Hard #1 is probably one of my favorite films of all time.
Sure,
Definitely like
sure.
the top 3 for me, for sure. Because it's a great, fun film for just an action film of its time. And on top of that, it's just simple and good, right? And I'm not going to dive into it. The point is, it's good.
Yeah, and then the ones after that are all pretty decent too. You're like, hey,
Yeah.
and then the fifth one happens. You're like, okay, well that, ugh. And
It's such a souring thing, like you
Oh,
just
yeah,
said. It
yeah.
sours. It's so aggressive that I'm with you. Like I haven't watched Die Hard, or any of the Die Hards since I think I watched 5. I may have watched #1 if it was on TV.
yeah, I watched every
or
couple
in
couple
passing.
years. Yep.
But But usually I'm like, oh, fuck Die Hard, dude. I'm gonna watch Die Hard because that shit's great. Because of 5, it has literally spoiled the experience for an aggressive degree. I have to somehow forget 5 existed to go enjoy. Like, for a good example, I like #4. #4 is fun. What a weird, wild film, dude. I thought the characters were cool. I thought it was a cool ride to be on, and it just kind of did enough over the top where it didn't go crazy, right? It didn't take us to Fonzie jumping the shark. We got close, but we didn't jump the shark.
Right.
And then it's weird because #5 doesn't jump the shark, but #5 doesn't do anything.
They
And
they just
literally-
curse. They just like, oh, we'll bring the rated R rating back, and then they try to compensate for that for a weak story and weak chemistry with the two. And you know, it's one thing too. I also hate whenever hey, we had the daughter on in 4. Let's have the son on in 5. I'm like,
Take
guys,
the son, dude.
guys, you guys are boring.
It's uncharted territory. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but-
anyway, sorry, not
But
to go on the
no,
tangent.
no,
but you
it's
are
fine.
correct.
Yeah, but Matrix 4, I have heard with a couple other casting people, Niobe, which was played by Jada Pinkett Smith. She was in Reloaded and in Revolutions, and she had that little side part where she was actually on Zion doing all the
She had
protecting.
the Zion. That was the place was called Zion. Did she have the red? She had the red leather coat.
Is
Was it
right-
red? Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. Yep.
And then when you played Enter the Matrix, she was one of the characters you played as.
Yep.
So that made her even cooler.
That's what I remember her from more than anything, is that part.
And I
Is
remember her mostly from being Will Smith's wife.
oh, that doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt.
No, absolutely. I wish I was Will Smith's wife.
Dude, I'd be Will Smith's wife. I'd wear a dress. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
Fine.
I'd be pretty for
Not
him
gonna
every
Mr.
single
Smith.
day.
Yeah, you see this.
That's right.
I'm just saying. That's kind of what I was saying about it a little bit. It got pretentious to a certain degree because it grabs so many different realms of Buddhism, Hinduism, and you know, good God, I don't even know all the religions it touched on, but it touches on so many conceptual ideas of what it is to exist, right? Because that's the Matrix, right? Are you existing? If you're just a battery in this fake world, so to speak, but you feel pain and everything else, you know, do you exist? Is this life? And if you want to tackle that concept, that's layered in there. And the Matrix has a lot of things to discuss. It really, really does. And I think that's a good thing. I also think it's a little insane as far as the story goes, but it is one of the few that it took its martial arts, maybe some inspiration from the ideas of the religions and other things. The not religion, maybe even per se isn't the right word, but the thoughts and the concepts around a lot of the bases of martial arts about you know, inner peace and finding who you are, and also understanding yourself physically and emotionally through the dedication of the martial arts. And I think they ran with that. I think they really ran with it. Like, we don't want, by the way, just a dumb kung fu movie.
I know kung fu.
We want something with purpose and meaning. And I think it really does a great job on the first one of doing that concisely. And then it wanders down 100 different paths in the later films about identity and, you know, the belief system and how is it right or wrong to stop the Matrix and all that other stuff they go through. But
The ethical dilemmas, yeah.
there
And
we go. Ethical dilemmas and stuff. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Thank you. That's the word.
it's like I guess the most truest form of being free. And so you see this, you see all these communities of families and loved ones doing their thing, and then you see this beautiful, beautiful war break out, and then not only does this war between the robots and the humans break out, but then Agent Smith, beautiful Hugo Weaving, is sitting here doing his own thing. Whenever and that was confusing too, Brent. When he goes into Neo, and then Neo kind of blows him out, and then he comes back with Neo kind of attached to his thing, but his whole goal is, instead of trying to cure the virus, aka the human, his goal is now to be the virus. And it was confusing, but there were so many epic cinematic, Don Davis being the composer, so many things that they put together that created the most beautiful cinematography I've ever seen. And just with all the wire work and the green screen and everything, these three movies just were, it was art. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it definitely stands on its own. Matrix is on its own pedestal. I mean, just collectively between like, and I think that's a really good sign of good film. Good film, great film. You can put it in a genre and stuff. You can call The Matrix an action film. You can call it a sci-fi film and all that stuff. But collectively, when you're like, yeah, man, it's The Matrix, that says something. That when you can reference something outside of the film series and say, ooh, that'd be like The Matrix, that is its own body. That's its own thing, its own creature that is manifested. And that is a spectacular piece of art to me. It's like really good. I think I always like to compare it a little bit to Inception. Inception has its own special wildness.
Well, Christopher Nolan has his own special wildness to him too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
what I think is great about The Matrix, just cinematically, is that it superseded cinema. It became a phenomenon beyond, and not because it was just popular, but because, like you said, there's a lot to dig into. There's a lot to tear apart. And like I said earlier on, you can listen to a whole bunch of insane breakdowns of, you know, are we in a simulation? And you can look to The Matrix for a bunch of reference points for that. You can sit there and you can, the debate he has with that old white guy, and I can't remember his freaking character, but the entire conversation he has with that dude with the TV screen, you can rewatch that and you can find three people and you can chew on that for hours. There's a ton to dismantle in The Matrix. There's so much there. And again, it's a little bit too much for my taste. But that being said, how fascinating, how great that I could go watch that film, the second one right now, and go to the part where the boy bends the spoon, and I could spend 20 minutes on just his line alone talking with someone about how the boy references the spoon and what bends, you know, like that's fascinating. And that could be seen outside the Matrix. But at the same time, when 2 million people of the first night of showing sat down to watch this film and they all saw that, That conversation went through households, through neighborhoods, through whatever. And that's just one part. It's a 2-minute part of this film. So the Matrix has done and stands on its own in these fantastic ways that I'm really thinking of the opinion so far. I don't care for a fourth. I mean, I'm gonna watch it, but I'm
Yeah. Oh
realizing
yeah.
I don't think I needed it. I don't think I wanted it, and I don't know who is asking for it. it
Well, sadly, I think just we as people demanding prequels and sequels and reboots and all that kind of thing is kind of asking for it. And I've noticed that there are sometimes, especially these days, when we're all in quarantine, there's been certain creative disabilities I've noticed. There have been a couple of really excellent movies that come out, but I think the typical, I don't know, 10, 15 movies that are just so amazing that I usually experience a year, it kind of went down a little bit
Dwindled
too. Yeah, a little bit. But
hard.
I'm
Yeah.
afraid that since it's almost like these filmmakers are seeing these situations as like oh, this is going to be a home video experience, so I'm not going to give you this beautiful theatrical kind of thing. I'm going to give you like a, I don't know, and maybe that's probably completely inaccurate. It just it seems to be like that's like, hey, we're paying $9 a month, so I'm not going to give you that much. But
Yeah, it's
HBO Max is trying. It seems though I do, and Zack Snyder's
yeah.
cut
Oh my god. Whole different film.
was yeah. Like I said,
Wild.
it went from a 6 to a 9, just like
Easy.
that. Yeah, so
Would watch again, gladly.
absolutely.
Would
And
watch
actually, I
with a
watched it
smile.
with my wife, and I made her watch all of it, and we watched it in 3 parts. But it was worth it as usual. So
We we had to. I watched the whole thing in one sitting because I was just hooked.
the first time I did,
Then
yes, absolutely.
then Crystal had watched the first third of it, I think, and then we sat down and we finished her other 2/3 of it together. I should have watched it with my dad. I should get Pops over and see if he's seen. I don't think he's seen it yet. I should get him over. Because like I said, we just watched Kong and everything, and I'm realizing I totally forgot to mention that was completely worth watching. I have to get him over this weekend. I'll have to watch it. Um, it's yeah, the cinema experience, as far as what you were stating with, the quarantine and everything else. I mean, one, it's just hard to make film, right? It's a huge,
Hmm.
massive effort. It's with a shitload of people all
Hmm.
doing things and getting things in order, and that's hard generally. Now put it so like only a third of you have to do whatever you're doing from home, and you still have to have a unified vision. That's exceptionally hard. So and I get the decrease in cinema. The cinema experience, so to speak. We haven't had a lot of films come
Sure.
out, a lot of stuff,
We.
being given to us.
Hmm.
And that being said, though, we are in, and this sounds like a cop out. I think we're in a little bit of a creative crunch. I think partly because the quarantine does distract us and destroy some of our creative juices in Hollywood, I think, and just writers in general. I mean, everybody's trapped. We're all trapped,
Hmm.
and it's hard to stay focused and create something fascinating and new when you are in Groundhog's fucking Day. You know what I'm saying? Like
When
you're not
it
gonna
almost
do
feels
it.
like they're kind of doing this to you too. They're like, hey, a little bit smaller bubble for you to work in because we got to be careful. Hey, go, hey, put your mask on. Put your mask on. Hey, everyone, step back 6 feet. Well,
Yeah,
I
it's
gotta
just
do,
hard.
the lighting though. I know, but try to at least get back a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like I
So.
said, you do that, and it changes how you have to make cinema, and then it changes it with all the stuff you have to make. And if you're true to your art, I assume like a lot of directors and actors and everybody who's involved in these they're true to their art. You don't want to cop out and just say, okay, well, let's just make a straight to DVD film level cinema.
Hmm.
We don't want that. We don't want that as people. We roast that all the time, and particularly right now when the film industry is working very hard to try and get our money still to show it's active and out there. They can't release bad stuff. Wonder Woman 84 is a really good example of like a film that did not do well despite the backing it could have had. And it's not to say it's because it was done poorly, but it's an example of like, hey, something that is a for sure thing can certainly turn out to be not a for sure thing. So we can't slip. We got to, do our
And
best.
Matrix 4, it's gonna be one of these things too. Wonder Woman 2, I don't necessarily like. I guess when it comes to those movies, the like Marvel and DC movies, if they have a slip up here and there, I'm fine with that because I know that sometimes just hey, bad
And
creative choices, what blah 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 blah. But when you have
mhm.
something that's like I said, like you said it many times, it's complete, it's good. It's just you made a circle and it's good to go. There's no reason to kind of open it up and maybe possibly make another shape and like oh no, but we want a circle, we want a circle, we want a circle. No 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 no.
Yep.
And then like,
Let me add a corner to this bitch. You're like,
I
circles
know.
are done with corners. It's why they're circles. Stop it. Get your hands off it.
Seriously.
It's art. Shut up. Yeah. It was art before and it was beautiful. Don't murder my child. Like,
I know, and
it's scary.
it is scary.
That's what it is.
And the scary thing, Brent, is I think it's Lana Wachowski. She actually was going to do like a reboot not too long before with Michael B. Jordan as being Neo, and then decided to do a fourth one, and that's telling me that she hasn't even been putting much thought into the story in the first place. And it wasn't that long afterwards that she said that. And I'm just thinking, okay, if this is one of those money grab things, then I am extremely, extremely bummed because I would say a couple of the Jurassic Park movies were almost
Oh yeah.
felt like money grab, and the first one especially. The first one it just is such a touching, wonderful,
We just rewatched
complete
it.
film.
It's so good.
It's so good. It
We
to this
just
day
did.
I watched it like 2 years ago, and I was just watching just the small scenes, and it still to this day has a lot of great things that make a almost damn near perfect movie.
It's great. Yeah. And you're right. That's the thing is I don't want to say that's what I, and again, understand this is coming from, this is more so coming from a place of paranoia than it is of anything factual. I feel like the Matrix 4 to me seems like one of those moments. I didn't hear any, there's always been in the wind talk of doing stuff in the Matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd hear these little whispers and chats about, well, they're going to do a Matrix, and it never came to fruition. And that was okay with me because it was always like neat ideas in the world. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever, but I'm not super sold. It's just, hey, I like the Matrix. Shit, that was a good movie. And then now that we're coming up to this, we're going to have a fourth one. That's it. We're going to have it. It is so... It's so unfortunate, almost. And again, I know we're counting chickens before they hatch, and we got to stop. We shouldn't be doing that. But
Well, it's because the first three movies are so good, though.
Exactly. It speaks to the love we have for those set of films that, despite any shortcomings they might have, collectively, they were universally good. They were just good. They were fun to watch. They were engaging on multiple levels, and they were just well done pieces of work. And I don't want that tainted. No one wants that tainted, and I'm sure the sisters don't want that tainted either by any means. But it leads me back to Wonder Woman 84. No one wanted Wonder Woman 84 to feel so disjointed and confused as to where it was going as a story, but it was a first writer's attempt at the story. It was her first time doing the writing,
right?
And you felt it.
I heard
felt
that
it in the film as it fell apart around you, and that's awful because Wonder Woman 1 was so cohesive and so forceful in what it was doing and what it was telling, and everything about that film is good. That's one of those films where it stands above just being a superhero movie because it tells a great story of war and loss, and it's just good.
We see that kind of war where we see the evil Germans and everything trying to get us, and then all of a sudden here comes Wonder Woman blocking their stuff and then blowing them up.
It's just heroic, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it just reminds you of what a real hero looks like, because sometimes we see heroes and then they all of a sudden it's just everything just gets all screwy with them, and then they're not the same character they were supposed to be. But with her, she was great, and I will say she was great in the second one too. I have no problem with her at all. Luckily that she was fine.
Actress wrong,
right?
I would say the story though, like especially it. And this is a whole conversation we'll have to get into one day. The story itself taints Wonder Woman on a lot of levels and unintentionally. That's the part that sucks. It's a lot of unintentional. If you really go through the film and you watch her Wonder Woman particularly, and you just follow what's written there, the story itself turns her into a completely different person. It turns her into a genuinely almost terrible human being. And that sucks. That really sucks, and that has nothing to do with the actress. That has nothing to do with like what they meant to tell. It's just the way that it unfolds because the writing wasn't there. It's the way that I fear Matrix 4 could go, where you're basically going to give me Neo and Trinity, and you're going to be like, the Matrix. And I'm going to go, okay, where's the substance? I don't give a shit. Didn't we sort this all out? Like, no.
But fancy kicks, yeah.
Kung Fu. And I'm like, yeah, but no, we solved this. He made peace with himself and died saving the people, and that what are we doing here?
No, beautiful
Neo.
story you told me already. Here. Good story. And then all of a sudden, no, but you don't get it. 2 kicks instead of 1 kick. Like I don't.
There's like a monster, like opening credit somewhere where it's just drink monster Neo, or some shit like that. There's some sponsorship,
Like a Power Ranger kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. That's just how I'm so afraid there's gonna be this weird stuff that's gonna really taint. And it's not to say that wasn't in the first film. I don't remember because I was too enwrapped at the time. But just that being said, these are my fears because I never asked for this. I think it's one of those weird things where fans kind of go, it'd be really cool to get that. But now that it's on the cusp of like us getting it and we don't know anything, and now we have to start making all these assumptions of like, what are they going to do? And particularly what scares me about this is the idea of like, I can't think of a story that I would find engaging. I like to consider myself a dabbler in the writing arts just for the sake of what is engaging for story. What would be a cool story? What breaks the mold of the usual stuff and be a fun story? And when I look at The Matrix, the problem I have is a big spoiler has already been revealed. It's a simulated world. This isn't real. None of this is real. Reality is hell. That's The Matrix, right? And we're fighting to stop us being, farmed and utilized and then again extinguished to a certain degree, any level of resistance. It's a resistance story and it's several other things, but that's the point, right? I know what's going on in the world. You solved that. What are you giving me? What story could I tell in this universe that I would find fascinating?
Right.
Either I bring the resistance back and we fight more robots, but that's been done, so I don't care. Or we go back into the Matrix with a new protagonist. Why am I back in the Matrix? What am I doing? Well, we're going to make it so we really make people not batteries anymore. Okay, but when we did that, the robots almost killed all of us. I don't want to hear that story. I don't want to, because I've been there. I see how that goes. And it made sense, right? You can't stop the machines from doing what they're doing because they will literally annihilate you. You will just be, as far as the Matrix is concerned, we are on peaceful terms simply because we have a slight Neo-sized WMD hanging out. That's the only thing making them not murder us collectively. What other story is there?
You're right. No, Brent, you're right.
What Nick, what do you think? What story is out there in the Matrix universe that would engage you? And I'm only asking because hopefully you'll give me something where I'll stop going, oh my God, Matrix 4 has me freaking out that it's going to be this shit show. Because there's got to be something, right? There has to be. I'm just not seeing it.
Brent, you got me, man. He has the beard and the hair, probably because he was filming Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and he probably couldn't cut it, so he probably had to just come up with a story to kind of hope that it worked out in that kind of capacity. Maybe it's showing all these different dimensions of him, just like being a lazy guy with facial hair, just watching TV, and maybe she comes and grabs him, and I don't know. I don't want to see any of that. I don't want to see. If anything, I suppose. Somehow, after it's all said and done, the robots say, "Okay, Neo is dead, so we're not going to honor our little treaty anymore because we're not scared of you." And then somehow, I don't know, because of that, the prophecy says he comes back like Jesus does, resurrection, and he comes back to dismantle all naysayers. And I don't know if they at least try to put some kind of beautiful poetry and all these ethics and all these tales of our past, like maybe some Bible tales. At least if
the return thing I get. I kind of get the return thing, but at the same time, and this is just me saying, why? We didn't need that. That's all. That's where my brain goes. I'm like, I don't need that trash. I don't need this.
I'm trying to relate, Brent.
But
at the end of the day, it just seems like the whole thing still does not need to happen.
But at least you got further than I did, because I didn't even go that route. I just got mad about it.
When Optimism.
I thought, like, okay, he comes back to stop the robots. I'm like, fuck you, he stopped them already. I'm just mad. I'm just.
No, I get it. I get you, and you get your Samuel Jackson F-bomb for the episode because.
Well, I've done about 3.
You're passionate.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm just kidding, of course. No, stop doing it.
Stop! You're gonna demonetize me, bro. Stop.
I get fan mail all the time from 45-year-old moms saying, "Oh, my kid."
They really love Billy. Loves your stuff, but that Brent swears too much.
He curses like a sailor.
I feel bad. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just mad about it. I'm upset. I'm impassioned, and I want Matrix 4 to be like Keanu Reeves does something different than John Wick. That's also excellent. That's all I want. John Wick's another just in passing. Up its own ass. what a cool idea and what a cool universe
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
it started as. And then like the more we get into it, the more like under the table or the high table, all this other crazy, the coins, all this crap, dude, the judicator and all this other. I get what they're going for.
A
I do.
story. Yeah, they're allowing like
They're
this Harry
building.
Potter world where you're saying, hey,
Yeah.
there's layers to our world. It's not just like good guy, bad guy, normal people over here. No, there's actual big old buildings full of
Hmm.
these things going on that you have no idea. Yeah, and you know what's
And
funny
it's just
too, Brent, is I've heard a lot of rumors and a lot of them have I guess a little logic to it, but a lot of people are comparing John Wick and The Matrix being part of the same universe. I mean, that'd be kind of unique experience, right?
it'd be something.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
don't think
could.
I wouldn't like it, but at least like you guys are being
That's what I
like
would say.
outrageous, and I kind of appreciate that. But
That is,
no,
it's insane, but it's at the same time at least engaging
yeah,
to a certain
yeah,
degree. I could see how you could draw lines and parallels, obviously, because it's the same actor and he's doing kung fu gun shooty, Winnie times beating all the odds,
seriously,
you know, stuff. I would check that out. I would dive into
I
that just
know, I
on being
know.
weird.
And
Um,
I'm all for it weird too. Like whenever Pietro showed up in WandaVision and it was the X-Men Pietro, I just remember thinking, yeah, this is really cool. I'm extremely excited. That first of all, that was the best episode easily the whole season. I think it was episode 4, and it was whenever it showed his face, I remember thinking, I want to talk to Brent about that.
Dude, I
Yeah.
had such hopes and dreams and such excitement. My imagination ran wild. I had such hopes,
Yeah, it didn't
and
go anywhere, sadly.
it was so meta. But the whole show was so meta.
Yeah,
You know, you can't. I don't fault him for it. It's just one of those like I want to choke somebody
yeah.
because of what it could have been.
I know. I know, because you're thinking, oh, that was the start of the whole multiverse and all
That's what I
this thing.
thought.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hoped.
And I know
I
that
hoped and
DC's planning on
prayed that
doing
was
it
a
too.
nod. Here's man. After watching Snyder Cut, okay. Hear me out.
Talk to me.
And we'll find ourselves back to a semblance of reality here after this. DC needs Snyder to be their who's the guy in charge of all the Marvel stuff? What's his name? Never
Kevin
remember.
Feige
Kevin Feige. They
or
need
John
that.
Favreau.
Yeah.
He's great too.
Ooh, John. Yeah, John be fine too. But they basically need Snyder to do that because he literally, in my opinion, I have watched recently. On top of it, I have watched Superman: The Man of Steel. I have watched Batman vs Superman, and I have watched now his Snyder Cut, and that universe makes sense. It as much as it possibly can because of the shortcomings of the previous two films, but even so, with those shortcomings, that whole series has a unified idea, a unified vision and goal, and I think I am actually excited for DC if they would just let Snyder be like, okay, look, we want you to be our Feige, and I want you to sit down and give us a path, give us go through our comics, find a great story, something we can build to, and let's try for round 2 because I think DC has some of the best, most wild characters to be bringing into cinema. The Atom obviously is noted as one of them. You could do Lobo. You could do so many cool
Which The Rock
bad
can
guys.
play both of them.
Oh, easy. The Rock could play Lobo. I would kill somebody in front of their own mama to watch The Rock be Lobo. It would be amazing. He's like their intergalactic Deadpool / Wolverine. He's crazy. That dude's out of his mind. He rides a motorcycle everywhere. He's basically part of a intergalactic motorcycle bounty hunter club. The dude's insane. But the point is, DC needs to do it. I'm sorry. This is way off, but with this idea of unified worlds and complete film trilogies like The Matrix, all of a sudden tacking on something extra with this fourth one, we need more people at the helm to plan these things out. If that's what we're gonna do, particularly like The Matrix, especially. I don't want a prequel, and that's me because I don't like. I know what happens with The Matrix.
I don't either.
I know what happens.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How do
They
you
they
surprise me
told
when
the
I know where
story.
it
There's
ends?
really no like it.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to like you said it perfectly a little while ago. There's no reason to kind of bring up a new like, hey, the thing is back. Well, what do you mean the same thing that we dealt with already? Come on, guys. I mean
Yeah,
no
you
no.
bored me
It's
already.
like in Force Awakens when they said, hey, we have a weapon that can blow up planets. But it's a bigger weapon than it was last time. I'm like, cool.
planet now.
Thanks, guys. Way, I'm already excited to watch this movie.
It's the Death Star. Just it's a planet. Great. so unique, so clever. Golly,
Right.
cinema, you disgust me. But I'm just saying, DC needs a helmsman. I think Marvel's proved it. We need helmsmen for the universes we love.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is the Wachowski sisters' baby. This is their thing, and I should have much more faith in them currently than I do, with my misgivings. But it's something so delicate and so special. I think it needs that. It needs someone at the head going, "That's what we want to do. Let's talk about the future. Let's really talk about what we're doing here and what our execution is." Because not only is it successful collectively, I mean, Marvel and Disney have more money than they know what to do with. They could probably just start dumping it into the ocean at this point and still come out ahead. Like, it's disgusting how much money they have because someone sat down and said, "Hey, let's try and make this Avengers thing." Oh, that worked? Okay. Let's plan a little better. Now let's plan the Avengers out. Okay, that's working. We have more money than the church. What do we do? Do we become a religion? What do we do? Because we were that fanatical. I don't know anybody who just our generation watching cinema now and getting to see all that hero stuff. I don't know anybody from my generation who didn't like it that wasn't mildly into cinema. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
there's
if I have had good conversations with you about great movies, I could see for that you have some idea of what a good movie represents for most people at least. And then you said Matrix was dumb. That wouldn't make sense to me. So yeah.
Yep, exactly. And I think that would be great to see. I hope that the Matrix 4 does something that does shock me. And not only shock me, but like in a good way that brings me into the folds where I go, "Oh my God, I want to see the next one. I want to see where this really genuinely goes." I will be really, really disappointed if it's just we've brought you guys like Neo and you like Trinity and you like Kung Fu and bullet time. So here's round 4. There you go.
Yeah.
That's my feeling, but I
The
hope
threat's
that's not.
bigger and faster and stronger than it was the first time. Okay, okay, cool. Is your villain gonna be? Was it gonna be Neo versus Neo this time? Is that? Oh no.
Oh my God, no,
Yeah,
you've done it.
yeah.
That's what it is. Oh my God.
Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. I just said it. Yeah, it's gonna be like a different version of Neo that decided to go rogue and just decided to kill everyone or something. I don't know. Or was told by the architect like, hey, it needs
The
to
architect, that's an
happen.
old bastard.
It needs to happen this way or else. And then he goes, oh, I'll do it that way. Then he goes, good. And he's just like Emperor Palpatine, good. And he goes, but first we must kill the one they call Neo 4026.
Yes, Neo must die. I am Neo. The other Neo must die. Oh my God, dude. That's literally what you've just said is now my absolute fear. I have anxiety because of what you just did.
Cool.
Great.
Cool. If that's
You're
what,
an
if
animal.
we see a trailer and we see two Neos fighting, then good luck in this world because I'm gonna leave it.
I'm out. I'm Professor Farnsworth. I don't want to live on this planet anymore. I'm heading out.
Seriously.
Had it. Oh God.
Well, buddy, my friend, as always, I love you, man, and I really do love doing
Love
these
you too,
things with you. It's I get giddy. I just told my wife before I came down here. Every time I come down and do one of these things, I get this little stomach ache, but like in a good way. Like you get your first kiss with a girl kind of feeling. Where you're
The
excited
butterflies.
about it, but you're also like scared shitless about it.
So nervous.
Yeah, because
Did I do it right?
the first few times I remember doing this with you, I was just scared shitless, and then I started getting excited, and then all of a sudden I was just like, okay, cool, I'm comfortable, but then I still have that little like kiss the girl kind of thing. So
kiss
yeah,
the girl.
but I love doing this. It's part of my soul, and I'm so glad that you have started this with me, and you still get to do it with me. I love you, man. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
I am so happy. Nick, I really appreciate you, man. Like this has been just every time. Every time. I wish I was a smarter, better person so I could express myself more clearly and show you my ideas better and
Me
all
too.
that stuff. But it's just like there are times where I'm just not a good person at this stuff, or I forget things, they fall off, and my brain is like trying to do other things. But I always come to realize I was just sitting down, and it's just anecdotal. I was sitting down because I told you, I'm like, oh, dude, I had an alarm set on my phone to make sure I didn't forget.
Well, thank you.
And so when I came and I sat down and I was like, okay, I got to get ready for the podcast. My head's running. I'm like, Matrix 4. I don't even, there's
I don't
nothing
even
out.
want to do this
What the hell
podcast
is it
anymore.
about? What the hell is Matrix 4? Okay.
Right.
But then the moment we got on camera, we just started talking. It wasn't even about the Matrix 4. Immediately, my brain perks up and it's like, dude, you haven't talked about this, that, and the other, and you gotta go. We gotta this, and what about that? Do you really? And now I have
Anyone
all
with
this
ADD
energy.
loves you right now. They're like,
Yeah.
thanks, man.
It's running through my mind like crazy right now, and that's there is something so special when you find someone in the world beyond like a significant other that just gets you, that understands you internally, and the things that they don't understand they want to learn about. And that is a privilege I get to share with you, because despite how insane I am and despite how terrible I am at times, you still actively pursue me. You still want to spend time with me, and that is just the greatest feeling in the world. So I, Nick, appreciate you for all of this, for setting up, for taking the time, the editing you do, the topics you get to, just all the effort that you put into this. So thank you for letting me just come in and sit and spend time with you on top of something you love. I get to just be around it. So that is just an incredible honor. So thank you very much. I love you, brother.
Of course. Thank you, man. I love you too, my friend. Thanks.
All right, we're all sapped out.
Okay.
Someone say an F-bomb right now. Get us sorted.
Ugh, man, shit.
Don't tell Keaton I said that. She's going to beat me up.
But seriously, she could probably beat me up. She's kind
Here's
of a
the
big
thing, by the
deal.
way, watching you guys talk about Leonardo DiCaprio, so sweet.
Oh, you like that?
Guys,
I'm glad you liked that.
Oh, it was the crushiest episode I've ever seen, and it was beautiful.
Oh, I know. We
watched
were
them.
both
Oh,
just
yeah,
sitting there going, look, and this is why I love Leo.
it was so crushy. I was expecting just like, these are the letters I wrote to him when he was on Titanic. I couldn't stop writing my fan letters to him, even though his P.O. box wasn't real. Just, yeah, it was great. So hope Keaton knows I appreciated watching you guys. It was fun to watch you guys get it. You and David were good too, but you and Keaton had it. It was particularly special. I don't know if it was
Thank you.
the love of the topic that was so endearing or what it was. But it was great.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, well, we'll do this again very soon, my friend. And everyone, the Nerd Frenzy podcast, it's a YouTube sensation, 21
People love it.
subscribers. So get in here real quick, because if you don't soon, then...
It's going to fill up.
Well, you still can. So, yeah. How about this? It's going to fill up like a Jehovah Witnesses heaven. So
Yeah,
don't
it's
you
selective
dare
you.
despair.
Yeah, select of you will go to the Nerd Frenzy podcast heaven, and you're just going to watch us yell at each other is what it's going to be. Periodically, you can hum in and yell too, but collectively, that's all.
The 2 Jehovah Witness subscribers are now gone. Sorry,
Going
guys.
from 21 down to 19.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like, wow, I had 2? That was impressive. What, with the brother and sister or
You
something?
son of a bitch.
So they would say, you son of a nickel.
You son of a inappropriate swear word. You're a bad person. I don't want to use that because I want to make sure I'm one of the 3,000 or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
I'm so ignorant right
That's
now.
That's already. Well, actually, I'd say that you're not the ignorant one this time. Sorry. Judgment's great, isn't it, everyone?
Yeah, you guys, go ahead, dude. Live your best life, Jehovah's Witness. You do you. You guys get wild with it. You're doing all right.
Oh, well, anyways, my friends, everyone, take care. Brent, thanks again, my friend. We'll do it again very soon, and I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
The Nerd Frenzy Podcast.